All right, let's just cut right to it. The absolute harshest truth you're ever gonna hear is probably the exact one you're trying to ignore right now. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're breaking down the silent pursuit of victory. And before we go any further into this journey, we have to understand something super fundamental. Look, nobody cares about your late nights. Nobody cares about your struggle. Think about those thousands of hours you spend grinding while the rest of the world is asleep or out partying. That effort, right now, it's completely invisible to everyone but you.
Your sacrifices. Seriously, nobody cares about them. You're out there pouring your absolute heart out right now, aren't you? Missing out on the easy life, staying up way too late, waking up way before the sun, literally bleeding for a vision that only you can see. You're sacrificing your relationships, your leisure, your comfort, your peace of mind. And man, it hurts, doesn't it? Because you're giving up so much of your present for a future that is in no way guaranteed. And the world is just completely silent in return. Your pain. They don't care about your pain either. Just let that reality hang in the air for a second. All of that silent suffering. You know, the anxiety that wakes you up in a cold sweat at 3 a.m. That immense crushing stress that sits so heavy in your chest you feel like you can barely breathe. Right now it goes completely unnoticed. You're carrying this massive burden on your shoulders, looking around, hoping someone, anyone, will just acknowledge how incredibly hard this is. You want them to see the sweat, you want them to see the tears, but they don't. And honestly, right now, they won't.
Until you win. Right there, that is the brutal reality that most people absolutely refuse to accept. Look, the world is a scoreboard, and until you put actual points on that board, your sweat is just sweat. It's not a story yet. History doesn't record the times you almost made it. The marketplace doesn't reward the sheer effort you put in, it only rewards the value you actually output. Your struggle, it's simply the unwritten prerequisite to your success.
We've got this basic contrast here. What people want versus what the world actually notices. We all crave validation, right? It's totally human nature. We desperately want encouragement and recognition before we've actually built anything of real substance. We just want a pat on the back for trying. We want that little dopamine hit of someone saying, "Hey, good job," while we're literally still standing at the starting line. But the world only notices results, not potential. The world is not going to pay for what you could do. It respects what you have done. Life just doesn't work on the currency of early support. You can't take your potential to the bank, and you sure can't buy freedom with almost.
So, that brings us to our next section here, the lonely phase. This is, without a doubt, the darkest part of the path. If you're in this phase right now, I really need to validate exactly what you're feeling, because nobody believes in you, nobody understands the vision, and nobody notices the work. It is agonizing. You're waking up, you're grinding, showing up every single day in total silence, and you are being entirely ignored. It's just you, alone in a room, fighting a psychological battle no one else even knows is happening. It's kind of like the Chinese bamboo tree. You plant the seed, water the dirt, and for 5 whole years, nothing, literally nothing breaks the surface, but you just have to keep watering that empty patch of dirt in pure faith while everyone walking by thinks you've totally lost your mind. Which naturally leads us to a really sharp, pointed question. Why do most people quit? When the isolation gets too heavy, when the silence becomes truly deafening, why do the overwhelming majority of people just pack it up and go back to an average, comfortable life? Why stop watering the ground right before the bamboo is ready to shoot 90 feet into the sky? Well, it comes down to one fatal trap. Most people quit because they expect applause way too early. Seeking validation before you've built a rock-solid foundation is the absolute fastest way to destroy your own potential. Think about it. You're looking for a cheering crowd before you've even finished building the stage. You want a championship ring just for showing up to practice. And when that applause doesn't come, boom, the motivation crumbles, because it was built on the fragile foundation of other people's opinions instead of your own inner drive.
You have to deeply, truly internalize this reality. Success is built in private. We need to completely reframe how you're looking at this isolation right now. It is not a punishment, it is the mandatory arena where true, lasting growth actually happens. The darkness you feel all around you, it isn't a tomb, it's an incubator. It's literally the only place where you can make mistakes without judgment, where you can ruthlessly refine your craft, and where you can build the muscle required to actually hold the heavy weight of success once it finally arrives.
Right now, you feel ignored. You doubt yourself constantly. You feel entirely exhausted. And yeah, you probably want to throw in the towel and just give up. But listen to me, I am here to tell you that these exact moments of extreme doubt and physical exhaustion, this is the specific forge where real champions are made.
That unbearable pressure you're feeling, that's the exact mechanism that creates diamonds in the dark. So if you're feeling this right now, please do not run from it. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. This is simply the price of admission to a top-tier life.
So how do we actually survive this? Well, we need a complete change in your operating system. Let's talk about the mindset shift.
It is time to install a brand new protocol. Step 1, stop explaining. Just stop expecting people to understand your journey. They won't, and frankly, they shouldn't. It's your vision, right? Not theirs. Stop trying to convince your family, your friends, or the internet that your idea is going to work. Step 2, build quietly. Go dark. Put your head down. Delete the distractions and all that extra noise. And finally, step 3, let your work speak. Most people only respect results anyway. So instead of exhausting your precious energy trying to explain your dreams to deaf ears, channel every single ounce of that energy into executing in the dark. Let your massive success be your only announcement.
And that brings us to the absolute core of this whole thing: pain as fuel.
You've got all these negative emotions churning inside you right now from being ignored, undervalued, and dismissed. Do not let that destroy you. You've got to learn to weaponize it. You must take the poison they hand you and turn it into medicine. This is a direct command. Use rejection, use doubt, use being overlooked. Take every no, take every smirking face that ever doubted you, take every single time you were passed over for someone else, and ingest it. Turn that disrespect into absolute unstoppable momentum. When you're dead tired, let the memory of being counted out wake you right back up. When you want to quit, remember the people who laughed and said you'd never make it. That right there, that is your high-octane fuel. It burns incredibly hot, and for sure it'll carry you through the longest, coldest nights of this journey.
But to make that fuel last, you really have to prove it to yourself. The greatest, most sustainable motivation in the human experience does not come from a roaring crowd chanting your name. It comes from internal conquest. It comes from looking in the mirror and knowing deep down in your soul that you didn't quit when you had absolutely every excuse in the world to do so. It comes from keeping those hard promises you make to yourself when literally no one else is watching.
You prove it to yourself, not the world. Performing for the crowd is a trap. If you live for their applause, you're inevitably going to die by their silence. And honestly, their applause is totally fickle anyway. They'll cheer for you one day and completely forget you the next. True power, unshakable power, that comes from that quiet, internal validation that you are doing exactly what you set out to do. When you master yourself, the opinions of the outside world become completely irrelevant. You literally become untouchable.
Which brings us to our final section for today, the big realization.
If you can stay the course, if you can build in the dark and use that pain as fuel day after day, year after year, there's an inevitable future waiting for you on the other side of all this silence. One day, they will ask how you did it. The exact same people who leave your messages unread today, the same people who roll their eyes at your ambition right now, they will one day stand in front of you and beg for your secret. They're going to ask for the shortcut. They'll assume you just got lucky, or that you had some hidden advantage they didn't. They won't see the thousands of lonely hours. They'll only see the finished masterpiece.
But here is the ultimate triumph. You won't need validation anymore, because the struggle already changed you. By the time the world finally wakes up and gives you the applause you once craved so desperately, you will have evolved completely past the need for it. That fragile version of you that required a pat on the back, yeah, that version died back there in the lonely phase. You'll hear the cheering, but it won't mean anything to your core, because your core is now made of iron.
Which brings us entirely full circle to the most profound realization in this explainer. Nobody cares until you win. And maybe that's a good thing. See, we started this by looking at that sentence as this brutal, painful reality. We looked at it as a tragedy. But now it is deeply, profoundly empowering. The silence was never a curse. It was a gift. It was literally the only environment harsh enough to forge the ultimate version of yourself.
It's a good thing because of what it forces you to become. Because nobody cared, you became stronger. Because nobody helped, you became relentlessly focused. Because no one kept you accountable, you became incredibly disciplined. You became completely independent, totally capable of walking straight through the fire without needing to hold anyone else's hand. At the end of the day, the journey was never really about the victory at all. It was about the person you had to become in order to achieve it.
So if you're out there right now, building your future in absolute silence, fighting those heavy, exhausting battles that nobody else even knows about, do yourself a favor and subscribe to GS Daily Motivation. Make that commitment. Because the next explainer might just give you the exact spark of strength you need to keep going and to not quit on your greatest self. Keep building, keep quiet, let your relentless work speak for you.
But ask yourself right now, when the lights finally come on, who will the dark have forced you to become? All right, I'll catch you in the next one.